In the 4th year of clinging to Zhou Jinran, my family went bankrupt. His first love seized the chance and said, "Let her suffer a bit and knock that spoiled temper out of her." Zhou Jinran, heeding her words, abandoned me on the streets of a foreign country. 4 months later, battered and bruised, I returned to the capital. Everyone thought I would keep clinging to Zhou Jinran. I deliberately avoided him and even returned his gifts, completely cut ties with him. Zhou Jinran laughed with his friends, finally got rid of that clingy past. But on the day I left the capital, he chased me all the way to the airport, utterly distraught, and begged me in a trembling voice, "Chenian, stay, and let's go back to how we used to be, okay?" I smiled with my eyes crinkling, pointing at my slightly rounded belly. "Zhou Jinran, look at us, how can we ever go back to the way we were?" On the day I returned to Beijing covered in injuries, Zhou Jinran's assistant picked me up at the airport. When I arrived, the private room was buzzing with lively energy. As I approached, I heard Zhou Jinran's voice. "Su Chenian has actually improved. She seems much more well-behaved and obedient now. She's been too pampered for too long. It's high time she learned to toughen up. Miss Jiang is right. Chunian's family is bankrupt now, so she's no longer a rich heiress. If she keeps acting spoiled like before, who's going to put up with her? It's just a pity for Jinran. He'll only cling to you even more now." Zhou Jinran let out a sneering laugh. "You think I don't know? She's nothing but a clingy pest." The moment his words faded, he caught sight of me pushing the door open and walking in. The crowd, which had been laughing and chatting cheerfully, suddenly fell silent. I saw shock, surprise, and disbelief in their eyes. The dazzling, utterly spoiled heiress from 4 months ago, now haggard and gaunt, like a refugee who has just escaped from hell. Jiang Ruo, always graceful and composed, spoke with concern. "Chenian, how did you end up like this? Come in quickly." But I stood still, nor did she see Jiang Ruo sitting beside Zhou Jinran as she used to. His displeasure was written all over his face immediately. Then, with just a few words, Jiang Ruo provoked her into a rage, reduced her to tears, and sparked a huge quarrel with Zhou Jinran. Every good party I go to ends on a sour note, and as a result, a lot of people don't like me. Thinking about this, I just find it laughable. What are you standing there for? Get in here." Zhou Jinran frowned at me, his expression filled with the disgust and impatience I knew all too well. I lowered my eyes and gave a faint smile. "Zhou Jinran, thank you for having Assistant Lin pick me up at the airport. Su Chenian, I came here today to return this to you." I took a small box out of my coat pocket and handed it over. "That is an ordinary luxury brand necklace." It was also the only birthday gift Zhou Jinran had ever given me over all these years. I treasure it so much that I only wear it on my birthday, but now, I don't want it anymore. Zhou Jinran didn't answer. He sat there with a cold expression, his lips pressed tightly together. I hesitated for a moment, then placed the box on the table beside me. "Chenian, your hand." The girl closest to me let out a small gasp. Zhou Jinran's gaze immediately fell on my hand. The back of the hand was covered with chapped wounds, and the once delicate fingertips were blistered from friction. A hard scab formed again, twisted and deformed, hideously ugly. I withdrew my hands into my sleeves and looked up at Zhou Jinran once more. "Zhou Jinran, there's one last thing I came here for today." "What is it?" His voice was chillingly cold. "I've been clinging to you all these years. I must have annoyed you." I gave him an apologetic smile. "I was immature and willful in the past. I apologize. It won't happen again from now on." With that, I didn't linger any longer and turned to walk out. As I was leaving the room, Zhou Jinran called out to stop me. "Su Chenian, you'd better keep your word and not be full of lies, only to contradict yourself." I paused in my steps but did not look back. Okay. 3. I was still abroad the night something happened at home. The father who loved me most couldn't be saved. Soon after, Mom liquidated all the assets. He went straight to the United States to seek refuge with his uncle. All that's left for me is this small apartment. I don't resent her for leaving me. Instead, I'm grateful she didn't let me end up on the streets. This bed is tiny, but it's still better than cramming into a basement with 7 or 8 people abroad. It's infinitely better. That was the best, deepest sleep I've had in these 4 months, until the doorbell rang and woke me up. I was a bit surprised when I saw Zhou Jinran through the peephole, but he quickly remembered that he also owned a property here. I opened the door and, before he could speak, said, "I'm sorry, I'll move out right away. I'll list this apartment with a real estate agent to sell it." "Su Chenian, what do you mean by that?" I don't know if it's just me, but after I said those words, Zhou Jinran's face instantly turned extremely grim. "I'll move out today. I promise you'll never see me again." After I finished speaking, I grabbed my phone and contacted the agent. The call had just connected when Zhou Jinran suddenly snatched the phone and slammed it hard onto the ground. "You've been playing hard to get for 4 years now. Aren't you tired of it yet? Sell the house and move out, then end up wandering the streets in the middle of the night, crying and calling me for help. So you ended up moving in with me, didn't you, Su Chenian? Can you show some improvement? Can you stop pulling these tricks?" I winced at the sight of my phone shattered into pieces on the ground. For those months, even having enough to eat was a luxury. This phone was actually a second-hand one the boss lady gave me out of pity. When I returned to my home country, I crouched down, trying to pick up the pieces. Zhou Jinran took out his wallet and tossed it to me. "Go buy a new one, I'll pay for it, so you won't have any excuse to keep bothering me." He finished speaking and stormed out, slamming the door behind him. I looked at the wallet on the ground, and as I laughed, tears began to fall. In the end, I still bought the cheapest phone. He's right. It's best to be even. I called Assistant Lin and asked him to come pick up Zhou Jinran's wallet. "Miss Su, I'm really sorry, but I can't get away right now. Could you please send the wallet to the company?" I thought for a moment and said, "Okay, I'll deliver it in a bit." For Assistant Lin hung up the phone and looked at Zhou Jinran, who was standing by the floor-to-ceiling window. Although he didn't quite understand why Zhou Jinran signaled him to say that, yet he could vaguely sense it. "Mr. Zhou didn't seem to dislike Miss Su as much as he thought he did. Did you buy the medicine?" "Yes, it's all here." Assistant Lin quickly handed over the paper bag. "These are all medicines for treating wounds and removing scars, clearly prepared for Miss Su." Zhou Jinran nodded. "You may leave now." About 40 minutes later, the front desk called the secretarial office. Assistant Lin knocked and entered, speaking cautiously. "Mr. Zhou, Miss Su sent a local courier delivery." Before he could finish his sentence, the jade paperweight on the desk was suddenly hurled to the floor with force. Assistant Lin lowered his head, not daring to breathe. After a moment, Zhou Jinran let out another laugh. Well, after a few months apart, she's really come into her own." 5. After listing the house with the agent, I temporarily checked into a cheap hotel. Zhou Jinran never came looking for me again, yet, contrary to his usual behavior, he was conspicuously and openly seen together with Jiang Ruo. Every now and then, someone calls me. "Nian Nian, are you having a falling out with Zhou Jinran? Is Goddess Jiang going to marry Zhou Jinran? I heard they went to look at wedding rings yesterday." I made no response at all. Only when looking at the slightly protruding belly in the mirror, I called the agent again and lowered the house price by 50,000 yuan. "I want to leave the capital early, leave this place forever, and never return." The baby in my belly was an accident upon an accident. By the time I realized it, he was already 3 months old. The doctor said the fetus is fully formed, developing exceptionally well. With tiny hands and feet already grown, lying there, tears suddenly welled up in my eyes, but after much deliberation, I still decided to let him go. Yet perhaps it was fate. Just as I was about to undergo the surgery, somewhere, unrest broke out again. The distant sound of explosions echoed, and then the entire hospital lost power, and so, the child stayed. I consoled myself that at least his father was a very handsome Asian man. Zhou Jinran abandoned me in that war-torn foreign country. The calamities that a young, beautiful single woman can attract go without saying. Sold to the red light district as the lowest streetwalker, only to end up riddled with disease and die. Still going with a man. When I shouted to him in Chinese for help, I had already accepted whatever fate had in store for me next. The moment he reached out to me, the course of fate had already been irrevocably altered. The biological father of the baby I'm carrying, that outrageously handsome and wealthy Eastern man who still has a shred of conscience left. At least it's not Zhou Jinran, isn't this? 2. A sliver of mercy from fate. 6. The day the house was sold, I received a call from Jiang Ruo. "Chenian, I've decided to accept Jinran's marriage proposal. Bless you both. I hope you can come to the engagement party. Is that okay? I'm sorry, can't you let it go?" "Chenian," Jiang Ruo seemed to pity me, her tone gentle. "Some things just can't be forced. But you're smarter now than before, knowing when to retreat in order to advance." "But useless Chenian, Jinran only listens to me, and I've always been the only one in his heart. See, one word from me, and he dropped you like a hot potato." "Jiang Ruo, what exactly are you trying to say?" There was a second of silence on the other end of the line. "Su Chenian, I've decided to turn back, so I want to make it crystal clear to you. Stop pestering Jinran. Am I being a nuisance? Don't think I don't know what you're up to. You love him so much, there's no way You'd let go, especially now that your family's gone bankrupt, since his heart belongs only to you and he only listens to you. What are you afraid of? Jiang Ruo didn't say a word for a long time, so I hung up the phone. A few seconds later, I received a voice message. Zhou Jinran's voice was languid and dismissive. Finally got rid of that clingy past. I've never felt this relaxed and carefree in my entire life. Congratulations, President Zhou, on regaining your freedom. Haha, I smiled and turned off my phone. 7. The day I left Beijing was a heavily overcast one, thick with smog. I grabbed my suitcase, got out of the taxi, and walked into the airport terminal, but then came the deafening roar of an engine from afar. I instinctively turned around to see that all too familiar car, racing straight toward me. I gripped the suitcase handle, turned around, and strode forward. Su Chunian. Zhou Jinran got out of the car and caught up with me in a few steps. Su Chunian, he gripped my arm tightly, his voice trembling at the end. Where are you going? I looked at him calmly. Zhou Jinran, let go. His eyes were rimmed with red, and he looked utterly devastated. Chunian, stay with me. Can we go back to how things used to be? I let go of the suitcase handle. I took a step back and slowly unbuttoned my coat. The winter wind in Beijing was biting cold. In an instant, it cut straight through me. My waist is still slender, but there's a slight bulge in my lower belly. Zhou Jinran's gaze slid down inch by inch, finally freezing stiffly in place. I curved my eyes into a smile at him. Zhou Jinran, look at us now. How could we ever go back to the way we were? 8. The wind, which had been howling just moments ago, suddenly seemed to hit pause. Zhou Jinran stood there, I don't know for how long, before he slowly lifted his red-rimmed eyes to look at me. Chunian, why did it come to this? I pulled my coat tighter and raised a hand to smooth my wind-tousled hair. Are you asking me? I smiled calmly. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? It's not like that. Chunian, I did leave you there, but Jiang Ruo said she has relatives over there, and she's already sent someone to pick you up. She said you're too delicate and have no idea what hardship really means. With a temperament like that, how are you ever going to find a husband? I was so annoyed by your pestering that I agreed on the spur of the moment. But I don't want to hurt you. I just want to teach you a lesson so that when you go back home, you won't keep bothering me anymore. Chunian, didn't Jiang Ruo's relatives come to pick you up? The smile on my face slowly faded in the cold wind. He's gone. Zhou Jinran let out a sudden sigh of relief. I knew it. Jiang Ruo always handles things with grace and thoroughness. But do you know what her relatives do for a living? Zhou Jinran was taken aback. Chunian, involved in organized crime, smuggling, and every kind of evil. I stared blankly at Zhou Jinran, his stunned and ridiculous face reflected in my hollow eyes. I almost died trying to escape from him. My ID, phone, wallet, all gone. I was so hungry I had to fight beggars for food, slept under bridges at night, and was nearly raped several times. In the end, I was targeted again, about to be sold into the red light district. By the end of those 4 months, there were no tears left to shed, but perhaps the wind at this moment was too strong, too cold, and my eyes stung unbearably. He was the only one who reached out to help me back then. The biological father of the child in my womb stopped talking. Chunian, stop talking. A look of agony spread across Zhou Jinran's face. He stepped forward and grabbed my wrist. I'm taking you to the hospital. Chunian, this child of unknown origin can't stay. Why? He couldn't look at me, his voice low and hoarse. Get rid of the child, and we'll pretend the past never happened. Chunian, I'll treat you well. Your mother has gone to the U.S. You have no other family left in the country. You're still sticking with me. I'll take care of you from now on. Zhou Jinran, I forcefully shook off his hand. Chunian, don't be foolish. No one else knows about your pregnancy. I'll arrange a private hospital for you to terminate the pregnancy. I'll keep this confidential, and your reputation won't be affected in any way. And then, I deliberately asked him, will you marry me? 9. Zhou Jinran was visibly taken aback. He lowered his eyes, his lips pressed tight, as if he had struggled for a long time before finally making a decision. Chunian, given your family's current situation, the elders will never agree, but don't worry, I won't abandon you. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. Zhou Jinran, I softly called his name, and in that moment when he looked up at me, I gave him a gentle smile. Do you know what I'm most grateful for right now? What is it? I'm grateful that I never had any kind of relationship with you. I'm grateful that the child in my belly isn't yours. First thought. Zhou Jinran's eyes betrayed a panic he couldn't hide. I stepped back 2 paces. Don't come looking for me again. Don't make me regret ever liking someone like you. I grabbed the suitcase and turned to leave. Zhou Jinran caught up again. Chenian, where can you possibly go in your current state? You've never had to lift a finger your whole life. How are you going to survive leaving Beijing and leaving me? I spun around abruptly and let go of the suitcase, spreading my scarred hands in front of Zhou Jinran. With these hands, Su Chenian will never starve. 10. Zhou Jinran stared blankly, his entire body trembling violently. I've never seen him like this. He's the most fun-loving and reckless one in the circle. No matter where he goes, he remains the most arrogant and unruly young master. When I was young and ignorant, I secretly prayed more than once, praying that Zhou Jinran will like me and treat me well. Pray that Jiang Ruoli and Zhou Jinran stay far away and never come back to mess with our relationship, praying to marry Zhou Jinran. If only he would smile at me one day and be a little nicer, I would forget all the grievances and tears, and keep doting on him, hanging around him like a fool, never tired of it, never weary of it. Now, he can't let go of me. He started begging me not to leave. Finally, I was in his eyes too, but I only found it ridiculous. Only felt an indescribable disgust, nausea. Chenian, Zhou Jinran wanted to hold my hand, but just as he was about to touch me, he stopped. His hands were those of a pampered young master. My hands used to be like this too, but now, the knuckles are twisted, scarred, and the blisters from friction have turned into ugly calluses. It is no longer beautiful, but it has become more powerful. The flower once nurtured in a greenhouse has left its shelter. It's not necessarily a dead end. 11. As I dragged my suitcase into the airport terminal, I suddenly felt a slight discomfort in my lower abdomen. Perhaps the emotional turmoil from the argument just now was too intense. Perhaps my body has been too worn out these days, and it just can't take it anymore. As a warm current surged forth, the world spun in dizzying waves before my eyes. Her entire body suddenly went limp and she collapsed to the ground. In my final moments of consciousness, many voices were calling my name. It was a complete mess, but soon, all sounds vanished without a trace, leaving behind a dead silence. When I opened my eyes again, all I saw was a blinding white. The smell of disinfectant filled my nostrils. The instrument beside him let out a series of ticking sounds. I instinctively wanted to raise my hand and touch my lower belly, but a gentle, soft hand stopped her. Miss Su, don't worry, the child is fine. Who are you? I stared blankly at the middle-aged woman before me. She was plain-looking, but her eyes were kind and gentle. The style of clothing was a bit odd, and their Mandarin was broken. I have a faint feeling that I've seen her somewhere before, but I just can't recall where. Mr. Meng has been informed and is on a flight to the mainland. The woman tucked the blanket around me and asked softly, would you like some water? I nodded, my foggy mind taking a while to sluggishly clear up. Mr. Meng, could it be him? But back then, we clearly agreed, never to see each other again, never to have anything to do with each other. That's it, I'm pregnant. And that alone has broken the unspoken rules. I have no idea who this Mr. Meng is or where he comes from, but one could infer it merely from his attire, travel habits, and daily expenses. His background and origins are absolutely unfathomable. That day, in the morning after, as he dressed to leave, he casually asked me a question. Do you want to follow him from now on? Under the circumstances at that time, following him was virtually the best way out, but I refused. I don't want to be a loathsome parasite anymore. He didn't make things difficult for me after I turned him down. They even gave me a sum of money, but I didn't ask for it. He saved my life, and I spent a night with him. That roughly makes us even. I never saw him again in the 3 months that followed, yet I endured immense hardship through all the wandering and displacement. Little by little, I learned how to make a living and how to spend money wisely. I've also learned to read the room and stopped being willful and thoughtless. At my most exhausted and miserable moments, I also broke down crying and felt regret. When I was so exhausted that I could barely crawl, I even thought about going back to Mengjingzhao, but in the end, I gritted my teeth and got through it. Rely on a man for a moment, and you'll be beneath others for a lifetime. The Su family went bankrupt, and I was no longer a pampered heiress. If you still go back with that princess attitude, I'm afraid I'll have to rely on others for the rest of my life just to survive. But I don't want to live this kind of life anymore. 12. After the auntie took care of me, helping me drink water and eat something, I drifted off to sleep again. I didn't sleep well, and even ended up dreaming about Mr. Meng. He sat leisurely on the living room sofa, using a torch lighter to light a cigar. The servant led me inside, and I stood there for quite a while. He finally looked up at me and said, Su Chenian, Mr. Meng. He had a pair of cold, indifferent eyes. When he looked at someone, it was as if there was always an impenetrable mist between them. He is right. Here, yet it feels like he's 1,000 miles away. In the dream, he called my name and then fell silent until that cigar was finished. My shirt is soaked through on my back. In my dream, my belly was a bit swollen, but I was still too weak to stand for long without feeling like I might collapse. Just as I was about to collapse, he finally spoke slowly. Who gave you the nerve to secretly carry my child, Meng Jingzhao's seed? Mr. Meng, I didn't. I've taken all the medicine you prepared. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance footage. I hurriedly defended myself, but he seemed completely unconvinced. He just waved his hand wearily, signaling the bodyguards to drag me out. Mr. Meng, please don't. I was crying out loud, begging him, and then I woke myself up from the dream with my own sobs. Wearily opening my eyes, I was still calling out Mr. Meng over and over. What nightmare did you have? Like a crying child. Through blurred vision, a handsome man's face came into view, a completely Eastern face, yet with amber-colored pupils. His Mandarin isn't very standard, but his deep voice sounds really nice. He sat by my bedside, wearing a custom-made black suit with peak lapels. He was holding a handkerchief, gently wiping away the tears I had shed in my dream. The scene was bizarre, yet oddly harmonious. I stared at him blankly, forgetting to cry. Mr. Meng, 13, it's me. He set the soaked handkerchief aside and replied in a gentle voice. I snapped back to reality and hurriedly tried to sit up. Meng Jingzhao raised his hand to press me down. Stay lying down. I didn't care about anything else and hurriedly explained. Mr. Meng, I took all the medicine you left that day. You can ask the servants in the house, or check the surveillance footage. I have no idea how I ended up pregnant again. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I went straight to the hospital, but then there was a bombing attack. The whole hospital lost power, and the surgery couldn't go through. I know that for a man of Meng Jingzhao's status and position. It's best not to tell a single word of a lie. You can now have the hospital schedule the surgery immediately. If you're still worried, you can wait here yourself until the surgery is over. Su Chenian, he suddenly spoke, just like in a dream, calling out my name in a voice that was soft yet deep, but in the dream, his tone carried a weary impatience, but at this moment, it was gentle. I'm Buddhist, so I don't kill. Meng Jingzhao paused, his gaze falling on my face once again. Those cold, indifferent eyes, along with the gentle tone, took on a faint hint of softness. Besides, he is my own flesh and blood. He leaned slightly, his long fingers brushing the damp strands of hair from my forehead. Rest well and don't let your mind wander, Mr. Meng. He removed his fingers, straightened up, and looked at me. Those eyes seemed forever devoid of sorrow or joy, utterly emotionless. Unless you truly don't want him. 14, on the day of my discharge, Meng Jingzhao asked me the same question for the second time. Su Chenian, are you coming with me or not? But this time, I didn't give a straightforward answer like I did before. He wore a sleek black coat, followed by bodyguards and assistants. He clearly looks like someone with gentle and mild features. Even when speaking, he remains unhurried, forever calm and unruffled, yet, just standing there, he instills fear in others. I am no longer the naive, simple-minded Su Chenian I used to be. Going with him would mean a life of luxury and ease, with no worries for the rest of her days. Even more predictable is a life like that of a caged bird or a marionette. But the way he looks at me like that, yet those clear, gentle eyes stirred in me a forbidden longing. It was as if his question always carried a hint of genuine sincerity. It took me a long time to finally stammer out the refusal. Mr. Meng, I am truly grateful to you, but I'm truly sorry. I can't go with you. The moment I spoke, it felt as though the air around me had fallen still. The crowd standing densely behind him held their breath, their eyes downcast in silent reverence. Not even the sound of breathing could be heard. I couldn't help but feel nervous, my palms gradually growing damp and sticky. All right then, Meng Jingzhao's voice shattered the unbearable silence. His expression remained unchanged, still an unreadable calm that betrayed neither joy nor anger. Still, you've been through a lot. I quickly shook my head. No, I won't. Please don't worry about me. Meng Jingzhao nodded slightly. Do you have enough money? That's enough. If you ever run into any trouble, just let me know. Su Chenian, these words are not just empty talk, I quickly said. Mr. Meng, I won't be foolish, okay? Meng Jingzhao gave me one last look. He turned around and got into the car. I watched the car drive away until it disappeared from sight. She gently stroked her lower abdomen and slowly let out a deep breath. 15. The car had been driving away from the hospital for a long time. Meng Jingzhao, who had been silent all along, suddenly spoke up. Do I look scary, Mr. Mang? There is no one gentler than you in this world. How could you ask such a question? She looks like she's afraid of me. Yu was taken aback and tried to explain. Miss Su simply doesn't know you well enough yet, after all. You haven't spent much time together. Meng Jingzhao, however, seemed not to have heard Yu's reply. He gazed out the car window, his long fingers idly twisting the sandalwood beads around his wrist, as if talking to himself. He murmured, even with a child, she still won't be with me. Yu fell silent, truly at a loss for how to respond. That day, when Miss Su cried out for help, he thought Mr. Meng had only acted out of a momentary impulse of kindness to save her even after bringing the person home. Yu didn't think much of it. Mr. Meng has lived alone for so many years, let alone the old lady of the Meng family, who is nearly frantic with worry. Even those closest to them felt heartbroken just watching. Unexpectedly, the girl would rather go out and endure hardships than stay. Yu himself also came from a humble background, but those days, watching Miss Su struggle and scrape in the slums, when working so hard for 3 meals a day that my hands blistered from the strain, Yu couldn't help but be moved. Miss Su was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She's probably never even washed a single dish in her life, yet they can endure such hardship and bear such toil. How can one not be in awe? Perhaps it was precisely Miss Su's tenacity and stubbornness that made the gentleman grow even more fond of her. He had been secretly protecting her all along, and then chose his most trusted person to accompany her back to the country. Later, news came that Miss Su had nearly suffered a miscarriage. The gentleman walked straight out of the negotiation table. Everyone has witnessed the hardships of this journey. Even you thought that the Meng family would soon have a new mistress. Unexpectedly, Miss Su still refused to leave. Iwa wanted to say something comforting, but his tongue-tied awkwardness left him speechless. However, seeing the silent gentleman, Iyu's heart also grew heavy with sorrow. Sir, if it really comes to that, shall I just go and bring Miss Su here by force? Meng Jingzhao lifted his eyes and glanced at Iyu. Iyu, no one is allowed to touch her. But, sir, Iwa was so anxious that she nearly forgot the rules. Let her do as she pleases, sir. Stop talking. Meng Jingzhao closed his eyes, leaving Iyu no choice but to shut his mouth, albeit reluctantly. 16. As I was leaving the hospital, I suddenly received a call from Fu Hanqing. There are plenty of people in my circle who don't like me, but Fu Hanqing has treated me fairly well. He is a few years older than me and usually looks out for me, although Zhou Jinran and I have completely fallen out and severed ties. But when it came to Fu Hanqing, she still used the old form of address. Brother Hanqing, is there something you need from me? Chenian, are you free to come over for a moment? I paused for a moment. Brother Hanqing, just tell me over the phone if there's something. Zhou and Jiangru got into a fight, and he hit Jiangru. I'm actually a bit surprised. After all these years, Jiangru has always been like a goddess in Zhou Jinran's eyes. Now that Zhou Jinran was still going to marry her, why would he suddenly have the heart to lay a hand on her? Jiangru was crying and throwing a tantrum, threatening to jump off the building, and even Zhou Zi couldn't hold her back. Brother Hanqing, what exactly would I do if I go over there? Zhou Zi forced Jiang Rua to apologize to you in person. I couldn't help but laugh. Really, no need. Jiang Rua was wrong to add fuel to the fire, but who is the real culprit? Besides, if I hadn't pestered you for 4 years until you couldn't stand it anymore, how could it have brought about such a calamity? Chenian, actually, Josie does have feelings for you. Hanqing, please stop. Hearing these words now, they're so absurd they make me sick. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up now. Chenian, I hung up the phone. I feel completely drained, both physically and mentally. I had planned to leave overnight, but my body just couldn't hold up. The doctor also said I need to come to the hospital every week for checkups to maintain the pregnancy. After thinking it over, I simply booked a cheap hotel near the hospital. I had just booked the hotel when Fu Hanqing sent me a WeChat message. Chenian, Josie is injured. It's pretty serious. In the photo, Zhou Jinran sat slumped on the sofa, holding his forehead. Blood gushed through his fingers, covering half his face in crimson. If it were the old days, I would have cried my heart out. I had already rushed to his side without a second thought, but now, I simply replied with a calm message. He needs to go to the hospital. It's really serious. Chenian, Josie refuses to go. I didn't reply anymore. A moment later, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I had a hunch who it was, so I didn't answer. After that, my phone went silent. 17. After returning to the hotel, I did a quick wash and lay down. I didn't open my eyes until 9 o'clock the next morning. There are a few messages on the phone. It was sent by Jiang Ruo at 2 in the morning. Su Chenian, Are you satisfied now? Zhou Jinran refuses to marry me, and it's all because of you. I will personally return this slap to you. I just think this person is seriously ill. If we were really to settle scores, how many slaps would Jiang Rua have to endure? Just went ahead and blocked all these numbers. Even Fu Hanqing's was not excluded. However, when I went to the hospital for another checkup, I ran into Zhou Jinran again. He must have been waiting here specifically for me. When we met face to face, I didn't avoid him. I just nodded at him and walked toward the elevator. Zhou Jinran had bandages wrapped around his head, looking pretty disheveled. Without saying a word, he just silently followed behind me, registering for a doctor's appointment, getting examined, and picking up medicine. I was a bit tired, so I sat down on the bench to rest. Zhou Jinran looked at me several times, as if he wanted to say something but held back. After a long while, he finally spoke and called out to me, "Chenian, that man doesn't want you all." "Does he? This is between him and me." Zhou Jinran stared at me blankly, as if he had made a great decision. "Chenian, come with me. I'll raise the child you're carrying." 18. I didn't want to waste a single word on him, but hearing him say that, I was so angry I laughed. I looked up at him. "Zhou Jinran, what do you mean by that? I saw everything that day." "Chenian, those people took you into the car and sent you to the hospital, and even I couldn't get close to you." Brother Hanqing said that man surnamed Meng has a background too deep to fathom. He's not a good person, and you can't afford to mess with him. Just as I thought. He doesn't want you, and he doesn't want the child either. But Chenian, we've known each other since we were kids. I can't bear to see you end up in such a state. I'll transfer a house into your name, and from now on, I'll cover all expenses for you and the child. Zhou Jinran, I know you well enough. You don't just do favors out of the blue. Spit it out. What's your real motive? "Chenian, I want you to stay by my side." He walked up to me, crouched down to my eye level, and said, "I want you to look at me the way you used to, love me the way you used to, and stay with me forever. Child, if you want to stay, I won't mind, as long as you're by my side." I looked at Zhou Jinran in front of me, stripped of his arrogance and pride. He now looked as pitiful as a child begging for candy, but my heart didn't even stir. "Zhou Jinran." I looked down at him and said, "The Su Chenian who loved you and wanted to stay with you forever died in a foreign country 4 months ago. We can start over. Chenian, I swear I'll treat you right, but I don't like you anymore." "Zhou Jinran, there's not even a trace of affection left in my heart for you. You know me best. If I don't like someone, I don't even want to spare them a single glance." All the color drained from his face, yet he still refused to give up. "If you don't like me, who else could you possibly like? That irresponsible man who abandoned you and your child." "Su Chenian, do you have any idea how hard it will be for a single woman to raise a child with an unknown father?" "Hard? I'm not even afraid of death, so why would I be afraid of hardship or suffering?" "So you still resent me for leaving you behind, don't you? What do I have to do for you to forgive me?" He held my hand tightly, refusing to let go, his emotions growing more intense. I didn't want to argue with him in a place like the hospital. I casually replied, "Then make Jiang Rua go through all the suffering I've endured. If I can do it, you'll come back, won't you?" I pushed him away and stood up, pulling my coat tighter as I walked out. "We'll see." How could Zhou Jinran bear to let Jiang Rui go through hell as well? So, after saying all that, I didn't give it another thought. We've known each other for so many years. Every time I clash with Jiang Rua, I have never won. Zhou Jinran always takes her side. This time, it's probably the same. But I stopped feeling sad or upset about things like that a long time ago. 19. It was at dusk, a week later, when I received Mr. Ming's call. I'm taking a walk in the square outside my neighborhood to help with digestion. There was a small fountain, and a flock of pigeons had appeared from somewhere. Meng Jingzhao's deep voice rang out. Just as a flock of pigeons took flight, the sound of pigeon whistles filled the air as the twilight clouds were painted in a riot of colors by the lingering rays of the setting sun. I sat down on the bench, feeling an inexplicable sense of peace and calm within. "Miss Su, I might need to ask you for a favor." "Go ahead, Mr. Meng. I'll be away next month. There's something I need to take care of in person." Meng Jingzhao's tone remained unhurried. "As always, if I can make it back safely, I'll keep my promise and not disturb your life with the child. But if I don't make it back, the child you're carrying will be my only bloodline left in this world. So, Miss Su, are you willing to stay with the Meng family and bring the child along?" I just felt as if someone had tightly gripped my heart. Just as I was about to lose my breath, I suddenly blurted out, "Mr. Meng, is something terribly dangerous going on? Don't be afraid. it's just a personal grudge, it won't involve you or the child. Also, I'm just asking for your opinion. If you're not willing, Chenian, I still won't force you, Mr. Meng. I need to go to the hospital for another checkup tomorrow." There was a brief 2-second silence on the other end of the line. "Okay, sorry to bother you. So, Mr. Meng, I probably won't be able to leave until the day after tomorrow. Could you have your people come pick me up the day after tomorrow?" I heard the faint sound of a signal cutting in and out. At that sound, Meng Jingzhao's breath seemed to lose its previous steadiness. I gently touched my slightly swollen belly, and for some reason, a faint smile curled at the corners of my lips. "How about 10 a.m. the day after tomorrow?" "Sure, then it's settled, Chenian." "All right, Mr. Meng, it's settled then." 20. It was 2 in the morning on his end when the call ended. A biting wind carried the strong stench of blood. It also yanked him back to reality from that rare and precious warmth. Meng Jingzhao put away his phone. The gentle expression on his face from the phone call had long vanished without a trace. He walked down the steps slowly and unhurriedly. He walked up to the man kneeling there, trembling like a leaf. The first thing that caught the man's eye was a pair of gleaming leather shoes, but those shockingly expensive leather shoes were splattered with blood. He trembled with fear, pressing his body even lower, knocking his head against the ground as he begged for mercy repeatedly. Mr. Meng, please spare me this once, I won't dare do it again." His chin was suddenly lifted by the tip of a shoe. The man, his face deathly pale, raised his eyes tremblingly. Under the cold moonlight, Meng Jingzhao's eyes were even more distant and icy than the moonlight itself. "I told you before, anyone who follows me is not allowed to touch what they shouldn't, Mr. Meng." "Jiang Luhua, not only did you touch it, but your men also injured 3 police officers. Mr. Meng, I beg you, I'll never dare again. I swear, I'll cut off my own arm to swear to you." "Too late, Aiwe. Take him to the police station, Mr. Meng." The man was terrified. With his crimes, being sent to the police station meant certain death. "Think about your wife and kids." The man fell silent instantly. Meng Jingzhao walked out of the courtyard, and someone beside him handed him a warm towel. He carefully wiped his hands, and as he bent to get into the car, his tone remained calm. "Clean this place up. She's coming the day after tomorrow. Don't scare her." 21. Meng Jingzhao's mansion occupies a vast area. Each garden has its own unique charm, offering a different scene with every season. Though it is winter, the garden remains a riot of blooming flowers. The white buildings were arranged in a pleasing scatter, and he still took me to the main residence in Building 1. The master suite, which occupies the entire second floor, remains exactly as it was arranged that night. The moment I pushed the door open, my cheeks flushed slightly. Meng Jingzhao took my suitcase and dismissed the servant. "Take a break, then go wash up. I'll clean up, Mr. Meng, I can manage on my own. You're already going through so much with the pregnancy." Meng Jingzhao took my hand and led me to sit down on the sofa. I watched him open the suitcase and start organizing his belongings. Outerwear and some personal items are easy enough to handle, but when he started organizing my personal clothing, I couldn't sit still any longer. "Mr. Meng," I stood up, moving with a rare, effortless grace since becoming pregnant. She snatched her underwear from his large hand. Perhaps it was because my face was too red that Meng Jingzhao didn't insist any further. I quickly adjusted my underwear. He didn't even noticed that Meng Jingzhao's underwear was also in that drawer. When I went to the bathroom to wash up, naturally, I wouldn't know either. Meng Jingzhao stood in the enormous walk-in closet for a long time, then, facing the vibrant colors in the wardrobe beyond the black, white, and gray, a smile gradually filled her eyes. 22. I know very little about Meng Jingzhao. In my opinion, he must come from an exceptionally good family. And then there's the upright man who runs a big business. So at first, I didn't take what he said on the phone too seriously, until I overheard it from a you. "This time, he is going to Mexico. The people you have to deal with are the most vicious kind. Those people, behind Mr. Meng's back, touched things that must never be touched. Now that you want to clean up the mess and make a clean exit, you have no idea how troublesome and perilous it will be. But Miss Sue, you truly are our master's lucky star. Carrying his child in your belly is a tremendous blessing. If anything unfortunate should happen, at least our master would have a bloodline left in this world." Awa started wiping away tears as she spoke. Watching him cry, my heart ached, and before I knew it, I was shedding tears too. Meng Jingzhao happened to return just then. Seeing that Ayu had made me cry, he rarely lost his temper. "Don't scold him." I tugged at Meng Jingzhao's sleeve, my eyes red as I looked at him. "Mr. Meng, please stay with me and our child tonight, for the first few days. After arriving here, I slept alone in the master bedroom on the second floor. Meng Jingzhao's guest room. Come to think of it, we've only met briefly a few times, though we've shared a bed and even had a child together, but when you really think about it, we're not even that close. So, when Meng Jingzhao, clad in a bathrobe, pulled me into his arms, my limbs are still a bit stiff, but he merely brushed the hair from my forehead, kissed me between the brows, and made no further unsettling moves. In the darkness, I took his hand and placed it on my belly. Mr. Meng, feel the baby. His breath softened in that instant. It took a while before it returned to its previous rhythm. His palm was dry and warm, gently stroking my swollen belly, and I gradually began to feel drowsy. Chenian, just as I was drifting off to sleep, Meng Jingzhao suddenly pressed a kiss to the corner of my lips. I'm sorry, Nian. I was too sleepy at the time to ask him why he said that, and later, until the moment he left, he still forgot to ask the reason. It wasn't until much, much later, when our child was about to start elementary school, it was only after getting drunk that he finally confessed the truth to me. There aren't that many accidents and coincidences in this world, it's just someone who cares, paving every step of the way for the one they love. 23. On the night before Meng Jingzhao left for Mexico, he still stayed in the master bedroom. I was already nearly 5 months pregnant at that time. Perhaps it was due to a relaxed state of mind and careful daily care. The body, once severely depleted, has now mostly recovered. Her body and face have filled out, making her look somewhat pregnant. Actually, these past few days, I could feel Meng Jingzhao's torment. After all, he was in the prime of his life, strong and vigorous. Even when I was pregnant, my figure didn't change. On the contrary, it has left my skin hydrated and my complexion radiant. I was extremely drowsy during my pregnancy, but occasionally I could still hear, in a half-asleep daze, the sound of Meng Jingzhao getting up in the middle of the night to run water in the bathroom. So that night, he kissed me, just like he always did when saying good night. I responded to him and hugged him again. No one knows, I often have a recurring dream. In my dreams, it wasn't those months of hardship and suffering, it is often that very first moment we meet. I struggled desperately, shouting to him for help in Chinese. He was the only Asian face in the entire venue, surrounded by a crowd of people. To be honest, I never held out much hope. The straw you clutch at to save your life often fails to do so, but he stopped in his tracks and turned to look at me, a complete mess. Then, he said something to the person beside him. Soon, those who were holding me let go in terror. I hugged myself tightly, desperately trying to cover my body beneath the torn clothes. The heavy men's coat fell onto my shoulders, enveloping my entire body. Then, he reached out his hand to me, long-fingered and strong, with a string of sandalwood beads around his wrist. At that moment, I thought I had met a merciful god. 24. Nian, don't tease me. Meng Jingzhao grabbed my hand. Why can't I? Meng Jingzhao let out a helpless chuckle and kissed my fingertips. You know the answer, yet you still ask. Almost 5 months now, and the doctor says it's okay. Suppressing my shyness, I gathered my courage to look into his eyes. Or, you don't want to, you're unwilling. I'm afraid of hurting you and the baby. His palm rested on my lower belly as he sighed softly. Go to sleep now, be good. I finally averted my gaze and pressed my burning cheek against his chest. Mr. Meng, the doctor said it's fine as long as it's not too intense. After I finished speaking, he didn't respond, but the arm around me gradually tensed up, muscles hardening like stone. I gritted my teeth and turned over in his arms. I looked it up online, and this way, it won't press on my stomach. Su Chenian, burning kisses rained down densely on the back of my neck and shoulders. Meng Jingzhao's voice was hoarse. Who taught you to seduce men like this? There are so many online. He lowered his head and planted a lingering kiss on my ear. Let me know if you feel uncomfortable. If I told you, would you stop? I don't know where I found the courage. Little did I know that I had such a mischievous side deep down in my bones, but after saying it, she curled up like a quail, filled with regret. Meng Jingzhao held me tightly from behind. A hoarse voice whispered in my ear, no, but for the first thought, I'll be a little gentler. Damn it, he probably doesn't know. Long ago, I unknowingly drowned in his tenderness. 25. 2 weeks after Meng Jingzhao left, I went out for a walk to clear my mind. I unexpectedly ran into Jiang Rua, but when she saw me, she dropped her usual air of superiority. She grabbed my hand, begging me to save her and send her back to her home country. It was only then that I realized Zhou Jinran had promised me that earlier at the hospital. It was no joke after all. However, Jiang Rua's relative does hold some influence around here. Didn't manage to protect her. Later, you told me that Jiang Rua's uncle, Jiang Luhua, had been sentenced to death. Chenian, I'm begging you, Jiang Rua knelt on the ground, clutching my leg, and begged again. I looked down at her. With Jiang Luhua in prison, how could Jiang Rua's life possibly be easy? She was abandoned by Zhou Jinran in this foreign land, just as I was back then. Unfortunately, she wasn't. As lucky as I was, it is a pleasure to meet Mr. Meng. Yue originally wanted to drive her away, but I gently stroked my swollen belly. In his heart, though, he thought that Jiang might be wicked, but he didn't deserve to die. Back then, I made such a request to Zhou Jinran. There is an element of fanning the flames, but if we're talking about who deserves the blame, Zhou Jinran is the one who should be resented the most. Just think of it as accumulating blessings for the child in your womb and its father. Even if Meng Jingzhao has lied to me about some things, I still just want him to come back safely. Besides, I have no desire to be a wealthy young widow. You call her family. I glanced at Jiang Rua. She seemed to have been quite frightened. He seems mentally disturbed. She got off easy. I smiled. Not really. I waved Yu over and whispered a few words in his ear. A few days later, Jiang Rua's family back home received word from her, 10 million, and their daughter will return home safely. Meanwhile, the Jiang family also learned that it was Zhou Jinran who had abandoned Jiang Rua overseas. The Jiang and Zhou families were embroiled in a huge uproar, leaving Zhou Jinran overwhelmed and struggling to cope. After Jiang Rua returned home, the Jiang family used the excuse that her reputation had been tarnished to force Zhou Jinran into marrying her. Rumor has it that the two had a terrible falling out even at their wedding, and Zhou Jinran laid his hands on Jiang Rua again. The Jiang family naturally refused to let it go, and the two sides broke into a brawl. After marriage, the two of them were living in a living hell. The unattainable goddess of my past, a pure and distant light in my heart, but later became the person he hated and loathed the most. Zhou Jinran drank heavily all day, and whenever he came home drunk, he would pick a fight with Jiang Rua. Beating her became a regular occurrence, but that is a story for another time. It has absolutely nothing to do with me. Oh, by the way, I donated all of that 10 million to children's charities and welfare homes. 26 Meng Jingzhao said before he left that he would definitely return before I gave birth, but only until a week before giving birth. He still hasn't been heard from, and the last time I heard from him was 7 days ago. The household was gradually growing uneasy. Even I have heard negative remarks several times. After a moment's thought, I called Yu over. Every single servant in the mansion was thoroughly interrogated one by one. Send away all those restless ones who have developed disloyal thoughts, far into the distance. Then he shut the door tight, neither going out nor letting anyone in. 3 days before her due date, there was still no word from Meng Jingzhao. You could no longer sit still and insisted on going to Mexico. I, too, am on the verge of collapse, a woman about to give birth, yet growing thinner by the day. You, go ahead, no matter what happens. Whether you live or die, you must give me a definite answer. But Yu was forcibly kept by Meng Jingzhao. He ventured deep into danger, yet his greatest concern was still for me. He left his most trusted subordinate at home, but Miss Su, Yu was torn. Well then, let me escort you back home first. It's no longer safe here. In his heart, Meng Jingzhao was naturally the most important, but I am carrying Meng Jingzhao's child. Moreover, there had been no news from Meng Jingzhao for a long time. His enemies are all lying in wait, ready to strike. The day before yesterday, Yu and his men had just caught several strangers hiding guns on them outside the residence. I'm not going back to China. The child and I will wait for him right here. Miss Su, go ahead. I'll be fine on my own. I smiled at him, just as I had done that day with Zhou Jinran. He also reached out his hand to Yu, saying, see, Su Chenian can't be defeated. She can endure any hardship and fears nothing. Yu looked at my hand, which had been healing for a long time but still hadn't returned to its original state. Tears streamed down. I'm not leaving. I'll listen to you, sir. I must protect the child that belongs to both you and the master. I want to persuade him to leave and go find Meng Jingzhao. Maybe all that's missing right now is his strength alone. That would be enough to turn Meng Jingzhao's situation around. But before I could speak, a sudden cramp seized my stomach. The violent contractions left me unable to utter a single word, as the pain nearly knocked me unconscious. Only one thought remained in my mind. I won't make it until Meng Jingzhao returns, won't make it for him to be with me during childbirth. When he left, he asked me if I was scared. I said I'm not afraid of anything, but honestly, I'm really scared. Scared of pain, hardship, beatings, scoldings, hunger, and cold. Also afraid of having to get that cut during childbirth. So, Meng Jingzhao, if only you were here. How I wish you were here. 27 Ayue and the servant took me to the hospital, just as I was wheeled into the delivery room. The nurse hadn't even had time to close the door. A powerful hand suddenly pushed the door open with a heavy thud. First thought, unconscious. I lay on the delivery table. I vaguely heard Meng Jingzhao's voice. I struggled to open my eyes, trying to confirm that it was him who had returned, but I have no strength at all. But my hand was firmly held by a warm, broad, and strong hand. That warmth and pressure, I knew all too well. I felt at ease instantly. First thought, Meng Jingzhao lowered his head and gently kissed me. I'm back, Chenian. The production process went fairly smoothly. The doctor said my health indicators are excellent and fully meet the criteria for a natural delivery, and with a natural birth, the pain goes away quickly after delivery, no more enduring the days of pain after a C-section. But Meng Jingzhao was clearly frightened, although he was asked to leave midway through the delivery because his extreme anxiety was interfering with the doctor's work. And while I was crying in the delivery room, Meng Jingzhao was shedding tears just outside the door. Awa was utterly stunned when he saw it. Meng Jingzhao sternly ordered him not to disclose it to anyone, but as soon as I came out of the delivery room, you secretly told me. I couldn't help but laugh at the thought of that scene, yet as I laughed, tears began to fall. No matter how much hardship one can endure, or how willing they are to endure it, but who doesn't want to be cherished and held dear? Shortly after I gave birth, Meng Jingzhao scheduled a surgery. Old Madame Meng was still somewhat reluctant, but the old man, clinging to his traditional views, felt content just looking at the great-grandson in his arms, so he didn't press the matter further. Meng Jingzhao came back this time with injuries on his body. He was out of touch during that time because his injuries were too severe. I didn't say anything, just when the baby was 3 months old, after I fully recovered, I asked Meng Jingzhao to accompany me to a temple. He doesn't believe in Buddhism, but I do. I only pray that the Bodhisattva, seeing the sincerity of my heart, will also bless and protect him. As I knelt before the Buddha with incense in hand, Meng Jingzhao suddenly said to me, Chenian, you have no idea how many sins I carry. He deliberately switched the medication, and the hospital power outage caused by the explosion was done on his orders. Later, he tricked her into leaving China to come to him. He does not believe in Buddhism. He wasn't afraid of divine retribution. He was only afraid that she would fear him and keep her distance. He was simply afraid that his greed for her would never be forgiven. I shot him a glance and handed him the incense. Then you have no idea how powerful and merciful the Bodhisattva here is. Meng Jingzhao held the incense, watching me kneel down with devotion. He finally knelt down beside me. Following my example, I reverently looked up at the Bodhisattva. Meng Jingzhao kept turning his head to look at me. Long ago, none of us knew. That single glance as I turned around sealed our fate for a lifetime. The end.